On April 26, 2019, Dr. Czar took a group of his students on a field trip to the MAPS Air Museum in Ohio.
No, this is not a Sopwith Camel. This is
Tri-Plane. Okay.
They made the 3 wings.
Oh, by the way, before you continue, for those of you who don't know, this is my dad. He was a major in the Marine Corps, but he was also in the Air Force as well. So I asked him to come along because he could probably know more than I do about some of the airplanes. So he's kind of be like our sort of makeshift tour guide, if you will, if anybody's interested in this stuff.
The reason for the 3 wings was not only to give it more lift, but also so the wings didn't have to be as wide, which helped the pilot's visibility. These rotary type engines, the entire engine spins with the propeller, which in World War I, there was no throttle. It was on or off. So when it was time for the pilot to land, he'd have to turn the engine off. And they'd turn it off and turn it on. If you ever heard a World War I plane going into land, it'd buzz, stop, and they would land with no engine on. The torque is pretty tremendous, trying to turn the airplane all the time, so the pilots always had to kind of fight that. John McCain, the senator that died last year, this is the kind of plane that he flew in Vietnam. It's an aircraft carrier-based light bomber. Marines and Navy flew it, and subsonic, go about 600 something miles an hour. But it was pretty widespread used plane. This is the type of plane that the Argentines used against the British during the Falklands War. They made a ton of these and used them for many years. This was a plane that the U.S. made a ton of during World War II, thousands of them. What they call a medium bomber. And we would consider it like a light bomber today, but in those days it's considered a medium bomber. And when it first came out, it had a lot of problems with it. Pilots had a hard time flying it, and they were referring it as the Widowmaker. But overall, it ended up having the safest flight record of bringing its crews back of all U.S. bomber airplanes during World War II. So it turned out to be a pretty darn good plane. They carry about 4,000 pounds of bombs. That B-52 can carry like 75,000 pounds.
124 bombs.
What's that?
124 bombs
Yeah.
B-52 carries.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Wow.
This guy would carry like 4 bombs.
Big bomb. Yeah, but then you see a sample underneath.
Yeah. Airship had a rigid frame with a cover put over it, and then hydrogen or helium gas inside. A blimp is like a balloon. It's a gas bag. It doesn't have an internal frame. And the airships are much bigger than blimps. Like you see the Goodyear blimp, taking pictures of football games and stuff. The airship's way bigger than that. And U.S. Navy had them for quite a few years, and they had some spectacular accidents, and they stopped using them.
Can we check this out in the inside?
Yes.
I don't know if you guys want to look in, since everybody wants a good side there.
Well, I got 8 seats in there.
The original F-86, the one that was fighting in the Korean War, the nose was just open. You see that they moved the intake for the engine down here, and this is a radar dome. This model of F-86 was designed as an all-weather and night fighter, where it could target enemy airplanes using its radar without having an actual shield. very, very successful airplane. It's the model of jet fighter that the U.S. made more of than any other one. 16, designed during the 1970s at the same time as the F-15. This is a single-engine airplane. The F-15 is a two-engine airplane. The F-15 was designed as the high end of the mix. The F-16 was designed as the simpler, lower-cost end of the mix. It's used not only for air superiority, but also for light bombing. Very, very successful airplane. Many, many different countries fly it. The F-86, not quite supersonic. This guy, supersonic. They go a little over 1.5 times the speed of sound. The airplane's in flight. This is up inside. And when it's going to shoot, it drops down and fires the rockets.
Some crispy crater. Well, yeah. Probably extremely heavy too.
Save our lives.
Ending the march at Madhouse would have meant certain death for Kessler and his comrades. Although the details are not clear, the German guards marched the men past the gates of the concentration camp. After the war,
What are you liking this place?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What was your major again?
Computer science.
Okay.
I used to be really, really, really interested in World War II. That sort of stuff.
Used to be.
Well, I mean,
After taking the class with us, you know.
when I was younger, when I was a kid.
I like that it's not just the airplanes. You also have all these uniforms and weapons and other sort of aspects that it shows men, women, African Americans. You kind of get like a full perspective of it in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like a lot of history doesn't really add in a lot of minority groups and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's nice that they include all that here.
Except for there was the movie about the black pilots.
Red Tails.
Yeah, right.
I think the George Lucas, who does like the Star Wars movies, did that also.
Yeah.
Did the original Star Warses at least.
My dad was a crew chief on F-80s during the Korean War.
Really?
In Korea.
I showed a picture of that in class.
You did.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go outside at all?
We might if people want to, if it's not raining or something. They said that there's a
What do they have outside?
more planes.
Oh.
They said that there's like a military museum upstairs as well that has stuff going back over 100 years or something. So
Oh, really?
yeah, so I might want to check that out because in our class we've talked about 1600s of the present. So
This was about 60 years before 9/11. So how do you realize that 9/11 compared to
My favorite fighter plane is the Red Baron plane. My favorite bomber is the Flying Fortress.
Yeah, I like the bomber they have out there. Actually, it's pretty cool.
They have some pretty bodacious models out there too.
Yeah.
Child's lever action gun. There you go.
Yeah. So I was just thinking too.
Flying at night.
Have you been here before, Julia, or no? Are you finding this interesting, or a little bit? At least somewhat. I think it's if nothing else, it's neat to not merely hear about the stuff in class, but to actually get to see it. Yeah, because it's like we show all these videos of the airplanes and battles and stuff. But seeing this stuff in real life is so much better, you know. And even in terms of like, you could get a sense of what these Rosie the Riveters and these other women that serve, what they would look like, what their clothing was and stuff too. And it's kind of more insightful that way. I like how the one is like a cape. That's kind of cool.
That's Japan and the Nazis. Now, if you guys seen Unbroken, you know that the guy who was in Iraq for 47 days was held captive by the Japanese until
Then we'll go upstairs in a second.
Move the gun up and down. He's cranking like a son of a gun. The other guy would be
There's two chairs too.
turning this one, make it go back and forth, so you'd have the two guys both doing it to try to chase airplanes.
That's probably in the
Boom, boom,
adrenaline
boom, boom,
rush,
boom.
doing that.
Definitely.
It was pretty nifty.
You figure people would be trying to get you if you're shooting at them too, so.
The top.
I like this guy. I like the little one. That's what I like. This is Navy outfit. That's what my dad wanted.
If you notice, these like say that they're from Canton and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, you see, Cam 55, Canton, Ohio. So these
Oh,
are
wow.
This particular area. These are from Ohio.
A lot of these women got a lot of skills in training during the war, working in machine shops, factories, mechanics. And then after the war, when all the guys came back, a lot of the ladies wanted to continue to work and make a decent living, and they were out of a job. The first time, like in American history, when like large numbers of women were in the workforce. Yeah,
Alrighty, well, I'm gonna get going because my bus will is starting.
there you go.
Okay.
from,
Thank you for coming.
See you.
Take care. See you next week.
Mechanic.
See you next week.
Have a good weekend.
She used to sit at home and, like be the housewife.
For you guys,
A little bit different.
I don't know if you noticed or not, Julie, but a number of the things are actually from the Canton area. Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's like, our community or whatever. So it's like the various stuff you learned about in our class or that you'll learn about if you take American history, we're a part of it. Not from Ohio.
Wow, so cool. Look at that lightning.
They just opened it. And I haven't been up until like about 2-3 weeks ago. All the time, I just go into my little workspace.
Oh, we're really going back here.
Revolutionary War medal. I wonder if that's original or if that's.
Like a replica for display?
It looks too new. Unless they cleaned it up.
It's possible. Sometimes I've read in museums they have like replica ones on display instead of the originals.
Yeah.
But yeah, it might be. Over 200 years ago. Ohio only recently became a state at that point.
Yeah.
I think 1803 or so.
I don't think so.
How come I don't remember that? Some of these are the recent donations.
Is that who we fought with?
Alright, boys.
That's the P-32S bomber. Carries 99 million bombs. It carries 99 million bombs. Where's Bob? He's right here. He's waiting for you guys. We were just wow. What's that? That's blood. Hey, can you go? Yep, the trench bugle.
Or should I be quizzing you guys? Remember who those people were?
Big 17 over on the left, and the Cobra, the first designed attack helicopter. Well, it wasn't that fast. It was like, you know, barely supersonic, but it was fast enough to, you know, between how it was shooting and where it went, you know, what timing. It was like ridiculous. But pretty goofy, obviously, you know, during training, not during war. Those airplanes.
1/3 scale model. Yeah. Or we had small astronauts back in the day.
You probably put a dachshund in there.
Yeah, probably. There's like a little guy in there.
I don't think they have a missile in here.
No.
Okay, next door.
No, this was the launch they had, yeah. I suspect that the various weapons and stuff around are probably not live, you know.
Yeah.
I'll bet that baby ain't cheap.
Probably not. I'm gonna guess that's
5 and 22. They can also rotate a little bit to make the plane even Starting with the F-86, we call it a flying tail. The entire elevator moves instead of, you know, horizontal and standards, instead of just an elevator tail. 106 recoilless rifle. It doesn't have to have all of the springs and shock absorbers and stuff like a regular cannon, because the shell, see how it's got the little holes in it? You put the shell in, and a big blast comes out the back end, and the blast is equal to the projectile going out the other end, so the weapon doesn't recoil. But if you're standing like here, it would blow your legs off. So you have to be out of the way. You got to be off on the side. And when it goes off, it's unbelievable how much blast there is. We put a wooden crate behind one time just to see what would happen. It just disintegrated it. It blew it to smithereens. These guys, you know, the sights were up here, and it had a 50 caliber single shot spotting rifle that would have phosphorus in it, so when it hit it would make a puff of white, and you'd shoot that to get your range, and then you'd shoot the big gun. And it was designed to take out tanks, and it's pretty handy for other stuff too. They even had a round that had flechettes in it where it would come out like a shotgun, and you could use it as a gigantic shotgun to take out troops that were attacking you. All these things inside are small bombs. You drop the bomb, then it opens up, and all these smaller bombs cover a big area. So instead of having one big blast at one point, you've got a large area covered by little blasts, mainly for use against troops and soft targets. changes and stuff there. As the planes get newer and newer, they get more and more. A little piece of bulletproof glass right from the pilot. You can also have a gun aiming type of gizmo that would project on that screen.
That'd be neat to ride in that.
Yes, it would. It'd be really cool. It'd be cool to ride in with your one. On the bombs. So when you're dropping them at low altitude, the bomb would be moving as fast as the airplane, and it would hit the ground and blow up and take out the airplane. So these would slow the bomb down, give the airplane a chance to get out of the way.
Here's a nuclear bomb. Warning, heavy. Look at how violent the ejection is.
It's an air show.
Pilots, when they eject, lose about an inch in their height because their spine gets compressed so much permanently. Very, very often you end up with broken back or broken arms. That's what happened to John McCain when he punched out. He was injured pretty severely. He got captured and beat up and tortured and stuff like that.
As a question for my students, which airplane did you find most interesting? Please let me know in the comment section below this video. If you liked this video and would like to receive notification of new videos, please feel welcome to subscribe to History and Headlines and become one of our patrons. Your viewership is much appreciated.